I said, sit down and shut up.
That's right. Sit down and shut the fuck up. You're listening to us now. It's the Deviant Podcast. My name's Joseph Bodie, one half of the Joe Squared equation. I'm here with my co-host and cohort and partner in crime, Joe Mancini.
Hey, I'm Joe Mancini. Welcome to episode 4.
Welcome to episode motherfucking 4, man, of Deviant Podcast. We're picking up steam. It's going to be huge.
So slowly, but so surely.
So slow. It's like a rolling stone, whatever.
Yeah.
Snowball, yeah. Going to be so huge. A little bit about Deviant Podcast quickly. If you're a repeat listener, if you listen to the other 3 episodes, skip ahead about a minute and a half. You can get the meat and potatoes of the podcast. You're getting all the deviant shit. But if you're new, a little bit about us. A Deviant Podcast, we like to say, was born of a bar. It's a slogan that's going to be on T-shirts, hats, baby bibs, all that shit. But Joe and I used to have discussions when he lived back in San Francisco before he sold out and moved to LA. We'd have discussions in bars, and we just felt like we'd be pissed off about things that weren't being discussed properly, or things that were being like too eagerly dismissed or too eagerly agreed upon. And we had deviant opinions and we got mad about it. We'd have great conversation. We just said, fuck it. There's got to be other people like us. There has to be a community out there of people that want to talk about this shit in an in-depth, rational way and really get into it, really dig in without worry of, PC or shaming or shame culture or virtue signaling or any of that bullshit. So he said, fuck it, start a podcast. And here we are. Deviant Podcast.
Here we are. One in literally millions.
One in literally millions. So born of a bar will eventually be on shirts, we hope. The motto we live by here at Deviant Podcast is cogency is the only currency. And by that we mean we don't give a fuck if it's politically popular, social media popular, if it's trending anywhere, if it's trending with any sort of people. You might have the most unpopular fucking argument in the world, but you could be right. Right? I mean, that's how people got the right to vote. It was the most unpopular argument. They were fucking right. That was a deviant opinion then. Deviant opinions are still happening now.
Absolutely. So
we need to pay attention to nothing but the cogency of the argument. That's the kind of listeners we want. That's the kind of audience we want. And that's the kind of future guests we want. We're trying to build a community of people who just want to do that same shit.
Yeah.
Want to adhere to that same maxim. Cogency is the only currency.
Joe, what did you make up earlier that was also a great summary of our show?
Oh, we are, yeah. You're right. Deviant Podcast is the opening statement of one side of the debate. Right, we're gonna give you our position. Picture this as it's Joe squared, the 2 Joes debating the rest of the fucking pod sphere, the Twitter sphere, social media sphere, and we're gonna present our argument, and then you respond. Right, we're the opening statement of the debate. You guys, you other deviants out there, are the fucking rebuttal, and we want to hear from you, and we'll treat you. It's not a shouting match. We're not trying to do a Fox News fucking thing. We're not trying to Bill O'Reilly you and yell over you. If you respond with the second half, you have your own opening statement to the debate. Bam, done. We're gonna respond in kind. Again, cogency, cogent, calm, intellectual, right? Thirdly, last thing before we get to the actually start episode 4. We used to have a disclaimer. We thought we needed to, walk on eggshells and be fucking careful and all this shit. But we both realized we're tired of that. We don't want to fucking do that. That defeats that totally undercuts the whole purpose of this fucking podcast. So the new disclaimer. We do still have a disclaimer, Joe Mancini. Do you want to hear what the new disclaimer is?
I'd really want to know since we didn't talk about it.
I've come up with a new one. I thought about it for a long time. I lost. Yeah, dude, weeks of writing.
Okay.
This new disclaimer. You want to hear it? Ready?
Excited. Yeah.
New disclaimer. Fuck disclaimers.
Wow, so beautiful.
That's the new disclaimer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing, the There's two parts to the disclaimer. There's two parts. So first is fuck disclaimers. And the other slogan that's going to be on shirts one day is fuck disclaimers. And if you don't like it, you can go fuck a duck.
Wow.
Like episode 3, if you listen to episode 3, you can go fuck a duck. You can literally hold that duck waist level, stick your dick in it, and fuck it. That's how little I give a fuck.
Yeah. Fair.
Fair enough.
And fair warning.
Fair warning. Go fuck a duck. That's the kind of shit we're...
Yeah.
Our approaches to issues will be more thought out than that statement. But I'm just saying,
Fuck a duck.
fuck a duck. There's no safe spaces here. There's no fucking trigger warnings. If that's not you, go find another podcast. Best of luck to you. I hope nothing horrible happens to you in your life. I wish no ill will on you, but this show is not for you. You can go fuck a duck. Maybe give the duck a trigger warning before you fuck it. I don't know. Make sure it's in a
You can
safe
experiment.
Yeah, make sure it's in like a safe duck space. And then fuck it,
Usually ponds are.
Usually feed it some bread. Give it some bread to distract it and then just fuck it, right? So fuck disclaimers. And if you don't like that, if you want disclaimers, if you wanted all that shit, then you can go fuck a duck. This podcast probably isn't for you. If you're still with us, which I doubt you are, but we fucking hope you are, then thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for still being with us. And
we promise it'll pay off.
I promise that it's going to pay off. We got a good show. We got a great show planned for you tonight. That being said, let's move right on into the fucking show. Joe Mancini, what are we talking about, man? What's episode 4 about?
This episode's about corporate wokeness.
Corporate wokeness. Okay.
And it's something that we are so touched to have in our generation when we turn on the TV and we get to see things like Kendall Jenner giving Pepsi to a police officer and people sharing, people, hashing out their differences over Heineken and Dove showing us what real beauty is about. What's unique, I think, about our...
Yeah, that's hashtag blessed, right? Thank God
it is.
The corporations and pop culture care about these issues, right?
Yeah. And I guess what's interesting is advertisers are now appealing to us instead of making their product appealing. I think that would be the major difference.
That's what really makes me feel good.
Yeah,
right?
They're trying to be on our level, and we all appreciate that. When Ford, Lyft, and Starbucks took a stand against the travel ban, we all knew they were like, it's kind of like seeing a celebrity at a coffee shop. You're like, oh my God, they're one of us.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was like holding my newborn baby niece in my hands.
Yeah.
I felt the same thing. I was like, it's a rebirth. It's a renaissance.
It was heartwarming.
It's a goddamn renaissance.
Yes. Yeah. Heartwarming to say the least.
Corporate wokeness. Pop culture wokeness too. And just in the pop culture sphere, right? I mean.
Yeah. In pop culture, we have celebrities taking these stances too. Of course, they're in no way connected. They don't have anything.
No way. No, they're completely autonomous.
Yeah.
Completely. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what I'm thinking about this? It's a good time and it's about time. With such...
You need to trademark that because there's somebody's going to jump on that.
They might.
There's some corporation's going to say... I feel like Allstate is going to capitalize on it's a good time and it's about
time. Yeah.
And you're in good hands with Allstate.
Yeah.
Right?
That's ripe for the taking. Actually, I probably took it, to be honest. I don't
hit us up for sponsorship, Allstate. Yeah. We'll totally fucking do it.
We will. But we're being honest about it.
But it's about time. It's a good time. It's about time these corporations did it. And I mean, just in pop culture in general, like there's a bunch of artists standing up. A bunch of artists are being woke and
putting into their art.
Talking about community. It's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
And it's a good thing that hasn't happened before.
Ever. I would say we're actually at peak.
It has never happened before.
Yeah.
Right? Peak wokeness, right?
Totally unexpected too. It's crazy. It's just like there's been no precedence and nothing's really shown us.
No movements, no communities. Nobody else has ever done this before, right?
Right.
All right, Joe, I love you, right?
Yeah.
We're friends, right? We're buddies. We're partners in crime.
So. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to say something to you right now.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Fuck you. Fuck everything you just said.
Really? You feel that
Yes.
strongly about it?
Of course. No, this shit has been going on for decades, man. Just not in pop culture. Just not on the corporate level. This shit has been going on. This idea, everybody thinks this idea of wokeness, this Me Too movement, and these things aren't bad fucking things, but everyone in pop culture and a corporate level and everyone in pop culture and everyone wants to give themselves a pat on the back in pop culture, and everyone wants to give the corporations a pat on the fucking back for being late to the goddamn party. This shit's been going on in the underground, in the subculture communities, and punk rock, hardcore, hip-hop communities since the fucking mid-'80s, man. This is nothing new. And if you grew up listening to one of those countercultures, listening to those subcultures, punk rock, hardcore, hip-hop, this is nothing new to you. When someone spouts off some idea that they think is so radical these days, some idea, some concept, some moral maxim that has to do with Me Too or being woke or whatever, and everyone's like, oh, God damn it, everyone listen to him. People in the community I grew up in, the subcultures, the punk rock, the independent communities, they're like, yeah, we've been saying that for 20 fucking years. You're late to the goddamn party.
But is it as effective when it's not coming out of when it's not in the mainstream or coming out of pop culture? I mean, is it really as effective?
Well, there's two questions. It's not. Yeah, I think it's more effective because it's sincere. When it's coming out of the corporate world, the pop culture world, it's not sincere. They're doing it for traction. They're doing it to save face. They're doing it because it's trending and it's a bottom line issue. We can get to that. The people that are doing it in the underground communities, the people that have been doing it for a long fucking time in the punk rock communities, there was all sincerity, man. Yeah. They were making millions of dollars. Most of them like squeaked by a living. They were getting by. A lot of these bands that I'm about to read off, they're getting by. They're doing okay. They're not millionaires. They don't own fucking yachts. They're not doing Super Bowl halftime specials. They're not sponsoring fucking commercials. And they don't goddamn want to. But it came from a place of sincerity, man. A lot of this shit comes out of early albums that like nobody – here's the thing. Here's the difference. These bands and these communities that I grew up in, the subculture, the punk, post-punk, hardcore, hip-hop, underground hip-hop movements – these bands wrote these songs. These artists wrote these songs and put these messages out because they genuinely gave a fuck about them. Nobody else was talking about it, and it was important for them to talk about it. People were listening to fucking Genie in a Bottle and all that kind of shit. You know what I mean? You got to rub me the right way. And like, come on. Like, that's just perpetuating the objectification of women, right? That's the pop culture shit that was going on. These bands gave a fuck about the issues, knowing that it wasn't going to sell records. Now, people give a fuck about the issues because it's going to sell records and and everyone else is doing it. So fuck you. You're late to the goddamn party. Like, I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, let me just, again, that community, that the back in the late, even like it started in the late 70s, really hot, really picked up mid 80s all the way until probably late 90s, and it's continuing. It's still going, but I think that was probably the heyday of it, right? But again, these were bands and these were community. These were bands that wrote these songs, wrote these albums, put out this message because it was something they sincerely believed in. And they were all about building a community. And it was all about building a community of respect and tolerance and diversity. It was all about, what's that catchword? Inclusion, right? The fucking subculture, the underground movement's been concerned with inclusion and diversity and respect since the mid-'80s, man. They weren't late to the party. They weren't writing this shit because it was trending or hip or because it was finally got the recognition it deserved. They were writing it, again, because they fucking firmly believed in it. So just some examples. We'll read off a short list here. So, like, if you need references, I like to cite my sources when I present an argument, right? So bands like Boy Sets Fire, Hot Water Music, Slater Kenny, Fugazi, Shia Lude, Sick of It All, Gorilla Biscuits, Minor Threat, Snapcase, Ignite, Pennywise, Sonic Youth, Patti Smith, X-Ray Specs, Bikini Kill, The Cramps, X, Bad Brains, Death, and on and on and on and on. This is a short list. I could have kept going on. Those are all bands that were talking about like either like inclusion, rape culture, or like what would now be considered woke issues or social justice issues long before those terms even fucking existed, right? And that list I just read off is very, very diverse. It's not all white dudes. It's not all a bunch of white dudes. That's there's a lot of women. There's a lot of minorities in that group, and they're it's predominantly white dudes. Not gonna lie, I'm not gonna act like it's 50-50, but I'm just saying that scene was a diverse scene, right? And that's what pisses me off about it, man, is that this culture, this corporate, this new trend, this new fad, being woke, being diverse or inclusion is like a fad. And that's what pisses me off about it. It was never a fad. It was something that people used to sing about and write about and give a fuck about sincerely, even if they sold 0 records.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's also coming from a community that got a lot of negative, a lot of negative connotation to it. Like, don't let your kid listen to punk rock. Don't let your kid be in a subculture. You don't want your kid going out and hanging out with these people that look weird and have mohawks or, Tribe Called Quest or, Public Enemy type people. You don't want them being on the street with those guys. And these guys were the most woke motherfuckers before the term woke even existed. And that's just what pisses me off, man. Is everyone's sort of just everyone's being so self-congratulatory. Want to pat themselves in the back, and they want to recognize, like, oh, look at the progress we've made. We could have made this progress, or it's not that we could have made this progress a long time ago. It's just that there's a huge swath of people that this is nothing fucking new.
Yeah. And I think it's frustrating. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead. I've rambled enough.
Well, I think a frustrating part of it is that this is all forward-thinking stuff that's come out of communities that were, I guess I'll say marginalized themselves for a lot of the time. And I'm not saying that, like, punk being rejected is as bad as, like, slavery. I'm just saying that, like, this is coming from people who, for whatever reason, the mainstream and families and parents, like, the two weren't obviously coupled ideas.
I think there's look, it's good. There is some on some small fucking some very small fucking level that's not even really worth getting like a consolation prize for. It's good that pop culture is finally thinking about things in rational terms. But that's long fucking overdue. Pop culture is finally thinking about issues in complex ways. Yeah, that's fine. But again, you're late to the fucking party. I'm sorry. You don't get credit for that. You don't. And these communities, these subcultures, it's not like they were small. A lot of these bands have done very well for themselves. It's just people were, I don't know. It's nice. Like it's sweet. No, isn't it so sweet that pop culture is finally starting to think about it? It's precious. They're finally starting to think about this fucking shit, right?
Right.
But I feel like they're still doing it. They're still doing it in watered down ways, in a lot of senses, right?
I think that's fair.
They're still, especially in terms of like movies and musicians, they're still doing it in very watered down ways. You look at Macklemore. What was the song he won the Grammy for, or some award for, like,
for
song about gay marriage.
Same Love, I think.
Yeah. Look, like, fuck off, man. It wasn't when you wrote that song, like, it was legal. or is about to be legal, you weren't pushing any boundaries, or you weren't taking a risk saying that shit, you know?
Yeah.
And there's been other subcultures, other musicians and artists that have been saying that shit and saying like, who gives a fuck? Like, just be loyal to people, just be decent, you know? And that's the sort of post-punk, and a lot of this is post-punk. Like 70s punk was very nihilistic and fuck everything, you know? But mid 70s, late 70s and on, post-punk, hardcore, and hip-hop, no, it's about community. It was about respect. It was about, like, you know, you're there for me, I'm there for you. That's all that mattered, you know? And so someone like Macklemore writing a song like that, that's just pandering. It's fucking pandering. And he gets a goddamn award for it. One of the most prestigious awards in his industry for it, when he's fucking pandering.
Right.
It's not brave. It's not bold.
Well, and everyone just ate it up. Yeah.
And everyone ate it up. There's nothing brave or bold or fucking adventurous about that shit. He's not, you know, he's not. And yeah, there's a disconnect between the communities that happen with underground movements and underground artists, punk artists, hip hop, and the pop culture pandering to those communities, right? And again, I think a lot of what these artists are doing when they're finally speaking out on these issues in songs that they may put out addressing these issues, I think it's a little lazy, and I think it's still a little saccharine and just too sweet.
Yes, it's very shareable. Yeah,
it's very shareable, right? All right, so to that end, of all the bands, you know, I rattled off a whole bunch of bands that everyone should check out. They all have great songs, great inclusion songs, great issue songs, community building songs. One song that I love by Boy Sets Fire, and we said we were going to make time to read these lyrics off, because this is not a saccharine presentation of the Me Too movement. This is not a dulling down or dumbing down or whatever of rape culture. I don't, you know, this is not your grandma's rape culture. not your grandma's rape culture, right? It's not your daddy's bluegrass. It's not your granddaddy's rape culture.
Yeah.
It's also something that would never get played on pop culture, never get played on radio, because I feel like it's too fucking honest. It's too real, which is a good thing, right?
Yeah.
I listen to this song and I'm like, every time I hear this song, I listened to it today before the episode just to rehear it. Every time I hear it, man, I how do they say? You know, it gives me the feels.
Yeah,
feels, man. It's all right.
Very corporate woke age thing to say.
I know. I'm trying to relate to our younger audience. If they're
hello, fellow kids.
Hello, fellow kids. Gives me all the feels, right?
Yeah.
I got some emojis lined up for this song. The title is the least I'm not a big fan of the title. It's called "Unspoken Request" by Boy Sets Fire. Everyone should listen to it after the show, especially now that you know the lyrics. I'm gonna read the lyrics off real quick. It repeats itself, so I'm gonna skip like some of the verses repeat. I'll just, you know.
Okay.
I don't want to repeat myself. There's no point in that. All right. So, "Unspoken Request," Boy Sets Fire. Very honest, very fucking brutal song, I feel. All right, here's the lyrics. "Failed coercion leads to intrusion, and the blood forever runs. In her head and to her hands, but between her legs where his mind lies. Power drives him in to murder innocence on the rack of his devices. Vices and designs. She will never scrub the stains. From her arms, from her neck, from her legs. Dirt will remain as a reminder of his hateful face. Reach in, rip apart the inner fibers of her soul. Boy, you'll never know how it feels to fear the shame. Feel free to walk down any dark street without fear, without shame. No one is going to touch you. You don't need protection. She shouldn't need protection. And you can sit there with that stupid smile on your face and try to convince me that you care. Defined by your power, defined by her body. The innocent she feels. Everybody else contains. It's lost, it's gone. But I guess it doesn't matter anyway. Reach in, rip apart the inner fibers of her soul. And you can sit there with that stupid smile on your face and try to convince me that you care. defined by your power, defined, redefined, fucked, tortured, and discarded. And if he ever cares, maybe he will feel ashamed for everything he's stolen, for all the trust she gave. Possessed and broken, she cries, but it's not our problem. Pull down your goddamn blinds. He will never think he's wrong. She will never feel quite right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fucking intense song, dude. That's how you talk about rape culture, right?
Seriously.
There. That's brutal. It's not fun. It's not. Those lyrics
confront
are not
people
happy.
with it. Yeah,
confront people, shove it in their fucking face, man. You don't wear a goddamn pin on your lapel to an award show and think you've done something.
Right.
Not confronting people with the brutality and the horror. You don't like. That's some honest lyrics about. I can't even imagine, but and you know. And again, I mean, I get it. This is a white dude writing a song. He's trying to put himself in this position. He's trying to have empathy for someone of what it's like to be a woman and in this position. And I think it's pretty fucking powerful.
I think so too.
More powerful than anything I've seen from pop culture or on a goddamn Super Bowl commercial.
Yeah, definitely.
So basically what I'm saying is, look, this shit's been around a long time. Pop culture is late to the party. Pop culture is like somebody that graduated high school at like 28. You know, like, good job. Like, thanks for, like you did it. You graduated high school. But, like, you're a little late, right? Pop culture is somebody that did exactly those lyrics. Pop culture is someone that raped somebody and then 10 years later goes, oh, yeah, that was probably bad. Shouldn't have done that. Maybe I'll start a foundation now.
Right.
Like, yeah, good. Okay. Like, start the foundation. Cool. But you're a little goddamn late. You shouldn't have done it in the first place. You shouldn't have perpetuated the ideology, the stereotypes, the whatever, the behavior in the first fucking place, which is exactly what pop culture did. We've been perpetuating this behavior, this ideology, and then now all of a sudden they want to act like they give a fuck about it.
Yeah. And I would go so far as to say that it cheapens art too, because when you have a guy writing a song that's like that raw and intense about it, you know, I think that's what the medium is meant for. I mean, I don't want to get to like college art student, you know, but it's cheap to be. I don't want to get
too Art Deco, but it's cheap.
It's cheap to be like I don't want to name names because it's whatever. But
name names, goddamn,
like a Justin Timberlake type.
There you go.
What I mean?
There you go. Yeah, exactly.
Who's like, I'm not saying he ever raped anyone. I'm just saying it's cheap to be like this. I'm not even putting it into my art. I'm just using my celebrity to like make, you know, to do something very easy and very timely, you know.
And it's
opportunistic.
Yeah. It's opportunistic. I would completely agree. It's very cheap, it's pandering, and it's very fucking insincere to cater to this trending shit only to sell records and to write songs that are full of bullshit platitudes.
Exactly.
That aren't really exploring the issues of what it might be like as a woman to live in this sort of culture, as what it might be like. And again, I fully recognize that the singer, you know, the front man for Boy Sets Fire is a white dude, and he's trying to, but look, I mean, those lyrics, I think he's doing a goddamn good job of trying to put himself in the position. He's trying to imagine, at least he's empathetic. There's no platitudes there. He's not fucking just saying, like, he's not dumbing it down and just like saying it's wrong or don't objectify women. He's trying to give you a very fucking graphic picture of what this might feel like, man.
It's actually more dumbed down nowadays to like try to distill all these things into like stupid catchphrases like rape culture, you know. I would say the invention of that term is more shallow, you know, if anything else.
I agree. It's like the term consent is sexy.
Yeah.
People chant that shit out. If the chorus of that Boy Sets Fire song was consent is sexy over and over, it would be a bullshit, platitudinal, insincere song. You don't need to chant out consent is sexy. The only people that don't think that are rapists.
Exactly.
Right? So if you chant out consent is sexy, that's an empty platitudinal phrase. It's not really, I agree with you, right?
Sure.
You're not telling me anything new. it's a very pop culture, simple, like it's a advertising campaign message you can put on a fucking billboard. It's concise, it's simple, it's dumb, and it's something everyone can agree with. It's dumb in the sense that everyone can agree with it, right?
Right.
It's not really, but it's something I already agree with. But if you want to try to make me understand or empathize and feel like what it's like to be that person in that situation, you got to write shit like the Boy Sets Fire song. You got to be a little graphic. You got to be a little fucking, like, you got to go right in there, you know?
Yeah.
You got to, and that song, those lyrics were angry at times. They were angry. They were empathetic. They should have been angry, but they were more, they're just broader. They were a broader phenomenological picture than just saying consent is sexy.
Exactly.
That doesn't help your movement, man. It doesn't help your fucking cause. That's the pop culture advertising fits on a Pepsi can slogan. Consent is sexy.
Right.
And everyone's like, yeah, consent's sexy. You want to make people actually care about the victims, make people understand what it's like to be a victim. You want to try to get people to understand and empathize and help minorities and be more inclusive. Try to make them understand the fucking horrors and the harsh reality that some of these people live through. And you can't do that with bullshit platitudinal phrases.
Yeah.
And that's all pop culture's ever going to give you. They're never going to give you that fucking raw punk rock hip hop truth. Ever.
Exactly. Because there's too much to lose, I think.
There's too much to lose. Yeah, you'd ostracize people. It's a marketing dollar, right? It's a bottom line thing. Yeah.
Which we're definitely going to talk about. I also have to say I don't subscribe to the view that, that a white male can't write about rape,
Oh, no, I don't.
I know. I see what you're saying. I don't know. I'm just clarifying because it's something.
I don't subscribe to that too. I'm just saying, like, I recognize it is a white. I mean, of course he can. I think he did it. I think he fucking nailed it.
Yeah.
Because, he wasn't. I think those lyrics are very empathetic. I think they're very thoughtful. He put he thought about what it might be like, and of course he hasn't experienced. Well, who knows? Maybe he knows someone that was. Maybe he has a family member. Maybe he's drawing from secondhand experience. I don't know. No, I agree with you. I don't subscribe to it just because he's a white guy. He can't write about X, Y, and Z. No, I don't think so. You just have to do it well. And I think that song was done well.
Yeah.
I would take issue less with that. And there's other people more like, pop culture artists that are doing it in a bullshit way.
Yeah.
In a very empty, insincere way. And that shit, that pisses me off. That's more insincere. Doesn't matter that they're white, male, Asian, female, non-gender, whatever. If they're writing these songs in a bullshit, insincere fucking way.
Yeah. Or they're not even putting into their
try
art.
to sell records off the tragedy, off the very real fucking social situations, and you're just trying to, profit off of it, like Macklemore's fucking gay love song, or equality song. Like, fuck off, man.
Yeah.
You wrote that because you knew it was going to sell hits, not because you gave a fuck about it. Maybe he does care, but it was by the time he wrote that, it was a non-issue.
Exactly. Well, I don't even doubt that he actually cares about it.
I don't doubt that he cares about it, but
yeah, it's you put it out there, it's fair game. I don't know. I think it's fair game for me to think that it's cheesy timing and cheesy substance.
Yeah, there you go. Cheesy timing, and it's conveniently cheesy timing. Conveniently cheesy timing, I think, right? Look at the fucking New York Dolls and shit like that, man. Again, the punk, the subculture underground community has always been always embraced, drag queens and the LGBT community before that was even a fucking acronym. I mean, again, thanks for catching up, pop culture, but you don't deserve a goddamn trophy for it.
Yeah.
You don't get to pat yourself on the back because you raped an entire culture and now you feel bad about it.
Yeah.
You don't get to feel good about feeling bad about it.
But that's the thing. It goes, it stretches so far. They can make their award shows about it. They can make their
and they have
all the campaigns relating to their new albums and new videos. They can make their music videos about it.
Yeah.
Partnerships about it. Yeah. It's
because now there's $1 for it.
Right.
And they don't give a fuck about the issues, man. They give a fuck about the dollar.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's insincere. And I think that's one of the other big dichotomies, the big not dichotomies, the big bifurcation between the subculture, the I don't want to call it a subculture, the underground scene, I guess, and the mainstream pop culture scene is there's a sincerity in one and a chasing the bottom dollar in the other.
Yeah.
And it's just a genuineness. It's a genuineness. It's definitely in one community and isn't in the other community.
Right.
So
look, corporate social consciousness is a fake fucking idea. It's a phony idea.
yes,
It's pandering. We all know it's pandering. Even the people who it's geared toward know that it's pandering.
I don't know about that part of it. I agree with the front-loaded statement.
I think some do. I think the Pepsi thing backfired. I think that sentiment is still working, but sometimes it backfires.
Occasionally when the corporations, the advertising goes too heavy-handed, people call it out and say you're pandering, right?
Yeah. But it's a net benefit.
But I think it works. I'm gonna say I think it works 90% of the time.
I think so.
And
I think you're right.
That's why, it's worked 90% of the time. That's why we've corporate culture has been so successful in perpetuating these images, this misogynistic, this rape culture, this whatever objectification for so long, for decades, until now it finally caught up to them and they have to readjust. But it's worked for a long time. It's only when they go a little too heavy-handed or a little. It's only now when they're trying to
or when it's tone deaf.
When it's tone deaf, it's now. Yeah, you're exactly. Yeah, that's the phrase.
That's what happened, I think, with that Pepsi thing.
Yeah, when they show their true fucking colors, right? When they show that, we really don't get this issue, we really don't care about this issue, we could make a Pepsi commercial showing someone holding a Pepsi can to the cops, and we think we're in touch with the zeitgeist these days. And everyone's like, whoa, that's a little,
it's phony baloney. They know.
Yeah, a little too fucking perfunctory, a little too fucking insincere. Yeah,
yeah,
a little too patronizing.
Yeah, exactly.
But they've been doing that but it's decades anyway. So
it's true. I mean, I think the obvious thing is that it's increased in the last, I would say, 5 years or so.
Yeah.
2012, 13, and I would say it reached a fever pitch during the Super Bowl.
Oh, God.
And maybe you could help me out here, Joe. I didn't watch too much of the Super Bowl, so I don't know.
Man.
I know the ads were obnoxious, but I need help thinking. I just want to name a few examples, just because
these fucking commercials, dude. These fucking commercials. This reached a fucking critical mass of pandering to trending shit. This reached a critical mass of corporations pretending to give a fuck in order.
Mm-hmm.
To sell more shit, right?
Yeah. So who'd you have? Was it Ford? What was?
Oh, the most egregious one. Definitely the most egregious one, in my opinion, was there's a Ford commercial. Didn't even realize it was a fucking Ford commercial till the last 15 seconds, and it was a bunch of juxtaposed images of like I don't know, just a bunch of. There might have been a truck in the first 45 seconds. I don't remember. But it started out with it was sound bites from fucking Dr. King speaking. It was a great speech that he gave. It was a very important fucking civil rights speech. Very, serious thing that you should treat seriously. And they played that for, I don't know, good however long, 45 seconds to a minute of the soundbite of Dr. King's speech juxtaposed with images of diversity and whatever the fuck else. And then at the very end, out of fucking nowhere, comes this fucking Ford truck. And it's a goddamn Ford truck commercial. And it's like, what the fuck? How the hell did that happen? Why was that speech in that commercial? Right? And that happened over and over again at the Super Bowl. It was not the only commercial that did that shit. There was a lot of corporations playing to this inclusion this inclusive representation, SJW ideology to try they were basically hijacking it, They were hijacking these very valid fucking messages, these very valid concerns in our society to sell their products. There was another commercial, I don't even remember what the fuck it was for. It was a camera panned over a bunch of newborn babies' faces, and it was a bunch of diverse babies. They're all ethnically diverse. It was white babies and Asian babies and black babies and Latino babies and babies I weren't even sure what the fuck kind of babies they were because they're fucking babies and they just, whatever. And they all look kind of the same, just from varying skin tones. And this is the weirdest fucking thing about this one. They overlaid that slow pan across all these babies, these newborn babies' heads, diverse babies, to a slow, like, piano rendition of Nirvana's All Apologies.
Oh, God.
And that shows you how tone deaf this fucking corporation was. Because I think they were trying to go for, like, all apologies for, like, social injustice, all apologies for, like, racial inequality or some shit like that.
Yeah, they're trying to force the meaning.
Yeah, and we're gonna do better babies. They're like, oh, here's the new generation, like, all apologies, we're gonna do better. Like, I think that's where they were kind of going with it.
Sure.
But what's really fucked up is they don't know what that goddamn song is about.
Right.
That song is Kurt Cobain saying, I'm really sorry that I'm really famous and successful, and I still want to kill myself. And I'm sorry that I still want to kill myself because I shouldn't, because I'm famous, but I still do. All apologies. I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
That's what that song is about. It's got nothing to fucking do with diversity or babies or soap or whatever the fuck product was being sold.
Yeah.
So they co-acted. They fucking reified that song. That was reification was the fucking thing during the Super Bowl, man. And it was too much. It was too obvious. About halftime, I was like, I'm fucking done. If there's another diversity inclusionary based commercial, I'm fucking done. Because it's pandering.
Yeah.
It was obvious, blatant pandering. And it was, let's use the biggest advertising moment in the year to use the biggest trending thing to sell our product. And again, if you think these corporations actually give a shit about those issues, you're a fucking idiot. If it was bottom line profitable to not be inclusive, if it was bottom line profitable to have Jim Crow era politics, Jim Crow era customer practices, these corporations would fucking do it. Ford would be, if it was profitable to say, for Ford to say, I'm not selling a truck to a colored person, they would fucking do it. And that would be their Super Bowl commercial. If that would sell the most trucks, that's what the fuck they would do. That's my problem with it. And that's my problem with the pop culture. Everyone embracing this and everyone, the Time's Up pins, wearing it at award shows. It's just insincere. The next award show, it's going to be another pin, another issue, and you're going to move on and you don't give a fuck. Meanwhile, in the underground, bands, punk rock, hardcore, hip hop people who spent their entire 10 to 20 year career talking about the same shit because it's important to them, not because it sells records, but because it fucking matters.
Yeah.
Yeah. So fuck you.
Yeah.
Corporations, fuck you, pop culture, fuck you and your insincerity. And no, you don't. I'm sorry, like, you don't get. Some people applauded the Super Bowl commercial. Some people were happy about it. Some people were happy about the Time's Up pin. Some people were happy about the Me Too movement on the and the all black dresses on the red carpet of the Golden Globes or whatever the fuck. Here's my deviant position. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Next year, you're gonna care about something else. And people are still going to be getting raped and sexually assaulted, and it's not going to go anywhere. But you're not going to give a fuck about it because it's not. It's like New York fucking Fashion Week, man. They're going to move on to something else.
That's fair. I mean, I'm actually glad you said that because that brings me to my question. Which, as we're talking about this, I've been thinking: is this a problem? Like, shouldn't the tone of corporate, although it is pandering, shouldn't the tone be a reflection of where we're at as a society? And the fact that there's a demand for it means we're in a good place. You know?
Yeah,
And
I
you
mean,
seem- and I
maybe,
don't know.
man. That's tricky. It's tricky.
It's tricky. I'm going to go ahead and say my input. It's
Okay.
a wholehearted and heavy no.
Oh, wholehearted and heavy-handed. Fuck off.
Yes. Yeah.
Fuck you. Yeah.
It's a no because it's not it's a net benefit for the corporation, not for society or as a reflection of society, in my opinion. I think activism is in its essence a grassroots movement. There's no activism when there's when there's corporate stake in the matter.
Mhm.
I'm actually wondering if it's even activism at that point. Everything we've been talking about this whole time.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it kind of just boils down to a boardroom vote or a brand consultation at that point.
It's a marketing dollar thing. It goes back to it goes back to the great Bill Hicks bit about advertising. The
What's
great,
that?
one of the great comedians of all time, Bill Hicks. Died too young, from unfortunately from pancreatic cancer. Like, he didn't overdose. He wasn't a drug addict. He died at 33. He died in his 30s. I don't know if he died at 33. I hope he died at 33 because then that puts him up with Jesus, and that would be awesome.
He seemed older than 33. I don't know.
He was in his 30s.
Wow.
I think.
That's crazy.
Maybe late 30s. It was probably late 30s. Anyways, he's got this great bit about advertising, and he basically says, he comes out and he says, hey, if you're in marketing or advertising, go ahead and kill yourself. And everyone laughs, and he goes, no, it's not a joke. They're all thinking, oh, hey, Bill, there's a joke coming here. And he's like, no, it's no joke. Seriously, kill yourself. Because you do nothing. Because you just sell us stuff we don't need, blah, blah. And he goes on, and he's like, oh, I see what Bill's doing. That's the anti-advertising dollar. That's a smart dollar there. That's a good dollar he should be going for. And he's like, no, God damn it, I'm not going for it. So he just goes on and on with this. And he just he just basically says, like, how corporations and marketing and advertising people work, and they go for the bottom dollar. Whatever's trending, whatever's the most lucrative position to take, that's the position they're going to take.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's this whole bit. Like, no, you're amoral pieces of shit. And no matter what, like, if it's the most lucrative demographic, you're going to go after that until it's not. You're going to care about them until you don't.
Yeah.
Right.
I really think that's the same thing we're seeing here.
Yeah.
And I think actually what's worse, I'm going to take this a step further.
Okay.
I think people like to think that social media has helped us become more progressive. And here's where I'm conflicted. I think social media has helped corporate interests more, and I don't think the benefit is an aggregate good benefit.
Oh, I would totally agree with that. I think social media has helped helps corporate America keep their finger on the pulse of which demographic is the strongest right now, right?
Exactly.
So it lets corporate America know which groups they should market to.
Exactly. So that's what I'm going to go into.
Which causes they should care about, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So sure. I think what social media has paved the way for is for us to sink deeper into an addiction to reactionary politics. And we saw this, a lot with the most recent presidential election.
Yeah.
And outrage and emotion. And it's not just about outrage. It's honestly, whether it's heartwarming or blood boiling, either reaction is now a commodity.
Mm-hmm.
So with every click, like, and comment, you're basically a voluntary social group for disingenuous corporate activism.
You're an unwitting participant in a focus group, right?
Unwitting, maybe, yeah. I don't.
Maybe not unwitting, but if you're on social media, you're basically a participant in corporate America's very large net, very large, like throwing out, a swath, very, very large focus group. They can track all these likes and track all these.
Yeah.
And I think I think unwitting is appropriate, is apropos for a lot of the population because they don't realize they're doing that. They don't realize they're being tracked. They don't realize that Facebook, Amazon, even Spotify and Twitter are keeping track of this.
That could be, and I guess that's where I lose a little sympathy because when we're talking about the mainstream, you know, what I'm getting frustrated at is that it's so dumb. It's so dumb to be a voluntary like virtue, like look what a good person I am. I like this thing. I like this thing, but you're just throwing all that out there, you know, for these people to pick up, you know?
Yeah. And they're going to jump right the fuck on it, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're going to play to it until it's not profitable for them and they're going to move on to something else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think the unfortunate part is that, you know,
look,
corporate activism is a big piece of
there's no such goddamn
mainstream
thing as corporate activism. Fuck off. There's no such thing as corporate
activism.
activism.
Okay, whatever. The as we're defining it, it's a big piece of the mainstream social consciousness.
Oh, okay. As we're defining it. Yeah.
As we're defining it.
It's, as a sincere term. There's no sincere.
No, it's not sincere at all. It's just
genuine. Yeah. Everyone wanted to fucking applaud Target for jumping on
that's a perfect example. Yeah.
We're gonna, the H2 thing in North Carolina, and Target was like, we're gonna have all gender inclusive bathrooms, and we're gonna do this. The only fucking reason they did that is because that's where the swell was.
Exactly.
Right? People wanted that. If the tide would have been the other way, Target would have been the most anti-transgender company in the nation if that's where the majority of people were.
Exactly.
Right? The majority of people, like it was like 60-40, but still Target was like, that's enough for us. 60/40, the majority want this. Let's just have gender inclusive bathrooms, right? If it would have been 60-40 the other way, Target would have been, they would not be a friend to the LGBTQ community. 100. Mm-hmm. And if you think otherwise, you're a fucking idiot.
Exactly.
You're fucking stupid.
Totally
if you
agree.
think Target actually gives a good goddamn about transgender people, you're fucking stupid.
And I think the reason it's not
hashtag sorry, not sorry.
Exactly. The reason it's a bigger problem than it seems like it is, and the reason I guess I get a little cranky about it is that advertisers and entertainers are intertwined. So what influences the young people? We all know like that 12-year-olds and teenagers is what drives the record industry or whatever is left of it. The entertainers are tied in with the advertisers, and the advertisers are tied in with the corporate tide, and if the corporate tide is a reflection of this disingenuous idea, it all becomes this giant feedback loop of just circle jerking.
Yeah.
About things that, like we said, have been addressed in subcultures, and I think it's a disservice to those subcultures and to like real artistic work and people who actually care about this stuff, not people who fake care about it.
Yeah. I mean, like I've said, it's the disingenuousness of it. It's the insincerity of it that we're now applauding. We're people, not me, but other people are like applauding this shit, you know, and applauding corporations on and in the social media sphere, we're applauding we as a collective, not we as Joe Squared, because we obviously are calling bullshit on it. But we're patting the corporations on the back. We're patting the fucking Golden Globes. Yeah, we're patting the fucking Time's Up movement. Mm-hmm. We're patting the.
We're saying Oprah should be president.
We're patting the viral videos of the fucking like, oh, look at such and such like rock and roll guy, or look at such and such hip hop dude, rap star, like top media chart person. Oh, we're applauding these viral videos of them like, oh, look. He stopped the show because he saw a woman getting groped. And isn't that so awesome? I mean, it's what you should do. But if that's where the bar is set,
right?
Look, I went to a lot of shows in high school and college, a lot of punk rock shows, a lot of hardcore shows, a lot of indie shows. And if you did that, like, they wouldn't have stopped the show. They wouldn't have had to stop the show. The audience, everyone in the crowd just would have kicked that dude's ass.
Yeah.
Look, it would have been over. fucking stop touching that. The band wouldn't have had to stop the goddamn show because it was an implied morality in the community. It was, we all knew this guy's not part of this, like obviously not a fan of this band or not a fan of this community. You come in, you're touching this girl when she's crowd surfing. The minute she's done crowd surfing, people would have just swarmed in, found that dude, kicked the fuck out of him, like beat the shit out of that guy and thrown him out of the show. Done. And the band just would have kept playing, maybe with a little nod, like, hey, good job.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it wouldn't have been a viral video of like, isn't it so awesome?
So that's a perfect
They stopped
point.
the show to point out an instance of like sexual harassment or assault, right?
Yeah.
That in the shows I went to in those communities, women didn't have to even worry about it. Granted, it wasn't a big amphitheater, but it doesn't matter. This shit doesn't happen in the box seats. We're talking about general admission seats anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we're still talking about, if it's a small venue, we're talking about general admission shit. Women did not have to worry about that stuff. Going to indie shows, going to punk rock shows. Like, I'm not saying it didn't happen, but by and large, you didn't have to worry about it. Because people that showed up for those bands, we listened to them for a reason. They were imparting a moral message. And if it happened, we'd be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And the crowd would stop. The community would stop it before the band had to stop it. But we've reached a point where it's a viral video for somebody to stop, for some, huge star to stop a show, to say, hey, stop that. And we all applaud them like they shot Hitler.
Yeah.
Everyone shares it and applauds them like they fucking cured child cancer. This is a very simple thing.
So that's a big hang up for me, because everyone likes to talk about outrage culture, and I think outrage culture exists. But I want to talk about this middle ground where outrage culture meets heartwarming culture, and people like people,
that's a good one.
We are so obsessed with feeling anything or even at least expressing how we're feeling because it brings us attention, that we need these videos because we love, for some, I don't know why these are so fucking popular on Facebook, and it's been this way for years. Like, look at this thing this guy did, look at this. And we're not like replicating that through our actions. We're just looking at it and saying like, oh my God, this is so benevolent what this guy did. Right. I think that bothers me just as much as like getting mad about transgender bathrooms or whatever. Like,
agreed.
It makes me just as mad.
Because we're not fucking acting on it. We're just looking at it like, oh, that was such a good thing he did. And then we like get on the bus on the way home and some homeless dude's grabbing some chick's tits and we're just like, not my problem.
Right. Exactly.
I'm not saying I've ever done that personally. But like I'm just saying we watch those videos, but then we go out in the world, we as a collective society, we watch those videos, go out and we don't do a goddamn thing. But we like to see the heartwarming videos of,
and that's being commodified. That's commodified.
It's so commodified and monetized.
That's what these people look for.
Monetized, exactly. That's why the cat videos get like 40 million views. You know, some cat doing some stupid shit.
Yeah, it comes from the same
heartwarming. It's cute. It's heartwarming. It's that same positive reinforcement we want to see, right?
Yeah, and these things are repeated to the extent that they become, like you said earlier in the show, like platitudes. It's just like, look at this thing. Look at this guy being nice. You know, everybody watch this person being nice, and no one reflects that in their own behavior. Which, whatever, people are shitty. We can, let's just accept that now. But why? But we're giving these reactions out to somebody to use. Yeah. Somebody's taking advantage of this.
We are all perpetuating this shit. Like, we're all giving them a reason to keep putting that shit out because we keep watching it. We keep commenting on it.
And it helps advertisers. If I was making an ad if I was making an ad for some company, I would just take a viral video that everyone fucking circle jerked over that was like so emotional and so heartwarming, and I would just make a bullshit video based off that. And I would just say like, look at this guy helping a veteran,
if I went,
buy our shoes.
If I was a company looking to advertise, which maybe one day we'll do, we're going to look at cat videos. We're going to look at animal videos because they have fucking 40 million views. I'm going to throw a Deviant podcast link on there,
Yeah.
All 40 million of these people are going to hate this show, but who cares? 40 million people are going to see it. But yeah, I would advertise on
cats
it.
are at least universally cute. It's more the these
cats are assholes.
like,
Fuck off. That's another show.
I'm more concerned about these, like, look at these people feeding a homeless guy. Look at these people giving their food. Look at, and these are great actions.
And people stage that stuff. They're like, oh, I'm going to go stage it. I'm going to go pose as a homeless person and see. Yeah, that shit's fucking, oh my God.
I mean, most of it, I truly believe is staged.
It is staged.
And if it's not, it's one of those, like, don't let your left hand know what your right hand's doing kind of thing. It's they're doing it for the recognition,
But it's the heartwarming videos because everyone wants, because that reinforces, it's not just that it doesn't convince people that the world's not a bad place. It convinces them that they're not a bad person.
They're not a bad, exactly.
That's the main thing.
Yeah.
They watch that shit, they tear up, they feel something, and they're like, oh, I'm not a piece of shit. I cried at that video, so I must not be a piece of shit.
Right. So they share it, and then someone's out there collecting.
They share it, and then someone and they get a bunch of likes, and like, I'm not a bad person. I shared the video. You're still a piece of shit. I'm sorry. I'm going to, right now, you're still a piece of shit. I'm telling you. You're still a shitty person. I'm a piece of shit. I'm not, it's not a judgment thing. We're all in the piece of shit category. We can all do better.
I just going honest about our intentions. It's like, come on. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've said my piece, but
I just want to go back. I want to more so prop up and support and promote the artists and the communities out there that are coming from a place of sincerity and not coming from a place of trending or profitability, not coming from a place of, I'm going to wear this pin or I'm going to write this song because that's what people are talking about. And that's the only reason I'm doing it. Again, I want to come from a place, I want to support the artists, the communities that have cared about this shit for 30 plus years, not just because it was trending or hashtagging or whatever. I've said a lot of things about pop culture. To really drive that fucking point home, dude, pop culture, corporate virtue signaling, marketing, advertising is the same. This is the fucking pedophile that puts out like an anti-pedophile campaign, anti-pedophile Facebook video, and he's still fucking kids, but he puts out the campaign. He's like, well, hey, I know I caused the problem.
I'm in the clear. Yeah.
I know I fucked these kids, but it's also fucked up that I did that. So we should all care and like, please help these kids that I just fucked.
Yeah.
That's corporate America. That's pop culture. We fucked everybody, and now we feel bad about it. So please help the people that we fucked. Because we've not done a goddamn thing to actually make them be better people or give a shit about the issues.
Exactly. Yeah. I think my last point on the matter is that this corporate virtue signaling allows them. It's almost like running for election. They get to put out advertisements or whatever media it is, and they get to brand them. They get to make the image look this way, this brand image look this way. And corporate culture is so much tied in with our own government, not corporate culture, but just corporatism in general. Yeah. It's so tied in with our own government. It's almost like they get to rack up the influence by putting this stuff out there. And by racking up the influence, they get a say basically in the way the country is run. Yeah. So this corporate virtue signaling is about power. And I want there to be no mistake about that. This is about money and power.
Oh, it's all,
and not like feel goods,
It's always been about power. Always.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not about the issues. It's not about sincerity. It's about power. Yeah.
And it should bother us that it's not about sincerity. If nothing else, at least that should bother everybody.
I think so. Absolutely. Yeah. And same thing, like, we're not going to go into the political aspect. That's a different topic for a different show. We've been talking about corporations and pop culture and that sort of machine. But yeah, I mean, government's the same way. They go with the tide. Look at the fucking Clintons, look at the way people have voted on and flopped on issues of marriage equality and, with rare exception. But it's about how It's about the popularity of it. Is it trending? Is it popular? Then we're going to get behind it. If it's not trending, if it's not popular, we're not going to get behind it. Basically, and the only thing is a rational fucking person, the only thing you can fucking conclude is they have no goddamn moral compass. They just go with the ebb and flow of popular opinion. That's the only reasonable, rational thing to fucking conclude. And that's what pop culture's about. That's what fucking corporations are about. And that's what politics is about, is the fucking ebb and flow of popular opinion, and nothing to do with a sense of morality and a sense of fucking community that you will always find an independent underground artist. You will always find a sense of community in them. That's my position. You will always find that with them, because they're not going with the ebb and flow of the fucking, a popular opinion. They're going with shit that matters to them. They're true artists. That sounds pretentious as fuck to say, but they're writing about shit they actually give a fuck about. Everyone else is going with the ebb and flow of popular opinion, and fuck them, man. Fuck them. They've caused way more problems than they've done good. And now they want to fucking backpedal and try to make up for it, Now they want to make up for it, man. Now they want to give fucking now they want to give fucking Mike Brown a Band-Aid to put over his gunshot wound. You know what I mean? Like, now they want to be like, I'm sorry, we were fucking wrong. Oh, it's too fucking late, man. See, you're late to the party. You're late to the goddamn party. You know? Corporate America will eventually put out Mike Brown Band-Aids. That's what I'm saying.
I guess
that's a little fucked up for me to say, but you get what I'm saying. I hope you understand the point I'm trying to make with that very incendiary analogy.
I definitely see what you're saying. I think I think for me this boils down to collectivism, and this is a distillation, or this is a very like the epitome of what bothers me about collectivism. And it's just this. It's like these things that matter, that all of a sudden it's we all act like it matters, but it still doesn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that by itself should be offensive to people.
I think so. Yeah.
I'd love to hear from people if they think this is like a net benefit for society. I would love to hear a counter argument, and I will treat it with respect and dignity, and I will listen, Yeah, if someone wants to email us, or if someone wants to be a guest on the show and present a counter argument, like I will sit back and I will happily listen. Yeah, is it all good that Target's doing this? Is it all good that Ford is doing this?
Is there a net benefit to this? Yeah, to this corporate insincerity or that we've been talking about, which I say is a fucking. I say it's bad. It fucking pisses me off. I don't like it. Which is why I've made some controversial parallels to it, but such as the Mike Brown Bandit.
The Mike Brown Bandit.
I said that really softly. Such as the Mike Brown Bandit. I would love to hear if someone has a deviant opinion on our deviant opinion.
Sure.
Yeah, I definitely want to hear it. And like we've always said, we're not going to Bill O'Reilly you. We're not going to fucking Fox News you. That's not the platform here. If you want to email us or if you want to be on the show, we're going to let you talk. Plan out your argument, do a long form argument, and done. You can have half an hour. I'll give you half an hour to talk.
Yeah.
So I guess that being said, let's go ahead. I think we've made our points. Do you have anything else to say on this? I think I've already rambled and ranted and said fuck you to just about everyone I can possibly say fuck you to.
I don't think I don't think so. I think we've summed it up. I mean, I guess my perspective is yes, I'm a contrarian, and I'll always go for the subculture versus the fucking mob ruled mainstream culture. And that's at least what I wanted to get at in this podcast. I don't know about you, but that's in this episode, that's definitely what I wanted to touch on. And if someone disagrees, but that's just where I come from,
Yeah. Well, I think the pop culture isn't it's mob ruled, but it's monetarily ruled. And if it was actually ruled by popular sentiment, maybe it'd be a different sort of story. Maybe some of those underground bands would have been pop bands, you know, would have been stars, you know. Pop culture is all about creating sheep. It's a machine. It's a machine to keep people materialistic and to buy shit they don't need, to care about shit they don't care about, and it creates these problems of that we're seeing. That pop culture is finally addressing now. But again, they're late to the party because they're addressing problems that they themselves created.
I was gonna say, like,
they're trying to slap themselves. They're trying to give themselves a pat on the back for attempting to solve a problem that they created. And that's where my like controversial statements, analogies have come from. That you did this, you shot this person, you fucked that kid, you know, and now you're trying to do a PSA against it and trying to solve the problem when you're the one that did it. You're the one that made this an issue in the first place. And there's been people all along fighting against you. So
totally.
My question is, my question would be, can pop culture change? Can it change that mode? That modus operandi?
That was my total question too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it going to change the tide? Like,
is it possible that pop culture can change?
Yeah.
That the sincerity can replace superficiality.
Oh, you're saying, can it change itself?
Can we change it? Can it change? Okay. Can we change it? Like, either way, it's not. I mean, it's probably not going to change itself unless, you know. Can we change it? Can it change? Can superficiality be replaced by sincerity? And be like the dominant force that we, you know, that's what we look at for pop culture. Can that change? I don't know. That's a really hard question to ask. And again, I'm posing that to any potential, you know, first responders. Let's call our listeners first responders. That's not a good phrase. Oh, that's not a good phrase. First responders. You're now called first responders, Stevie.
As a cynic, I have to say, I totally don't think so. But I don't think so. But I want to take your question, and I want to expand on it and say, not only can it change, but can it actually change society, or is it all just useless?
Are we just
useless virtue signaling? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
or are we just fucked?
Is it just the same cycle of corporate, you know, faux interest? You know.
Yeah. Is the machine too big?
Yeah,
you know? Like, we would like to change it, but is the machine too big? So there's a lot of complex questions. There's a lot of questions we're throwing out to you. It's very complex, but that's a good thing. We feel like all of you first responders, new phrase, are very intelligent and can handle these complex questions. So I feel like that's pretty much like all I want to ask for this episode, I guess. Right?
I think we summed it up.
We put the questions out. Yeah. All right. So that's episode 4, everybody. That's our, you know, corporate America virtue signaling. Where the fuck are we going with all this stuff? How can we do better? Stay tuned, Deviants, for episode 5. Oh, our next episode's a big one. It's our fucking Oscar.
I'm excited.
Oscars.
It's about the
Oscar
episode.
Yes. Yeah. This one's going to be great. We already have something out on Twitter for you to respond to. We're going to be hitting that up a lot, trying to get opinions, predictions. Whatever.
Hey, if you've seen very few of these nominations and you're interested in talking shit about stuff you haven't seen, join us, because I still haven't seen very many of them.
You'll be more than welcome.
Yeah.
You're more than welcome on the show. Definitely.
I might have seen more by the time we recorded, but
yeah, I hope to see at least 1 or 2 more. That's our next episode, though, that Oscars episode. We're super fucking stoked about that one. We were super fucking stoked about this one. So yeah, please
write us, email us.
I'm not going to call you deviants anymore. I'm first responders. Please fucking hit us up on Twitter at Podcast Deviant. You can DM us there. Hit us up at Gmail on deviantpodcast1 at gmail.com. We also have a website that you can comment on, deviantpodcast.wordpress.com. There's a YouTube channel you can watch and comment there. Anything and everything. We're trying to make it as easy as fucking possible.
Yeah. Go on our Facebook, leave us a fucking message, or
go on our Facebook. Yeah, go on the Facebook page, Deviant Podcast on Facebook. leave us a message there. Tell us we're pieces of shit. Tell us we're awesome. Whatever.
Yeah.
Give us a long email us for long form arguments, ideas, something. We're trying to build a fucking community. We need you to be a part of this. We want you to be a part of this. Please listen to the episodes on, if you want to watch it on YouTube. If you want to watch us being assholes, you can watch us there. You can definitely find us on iTunes. Please download and rate. Give us 5 stars. We don't. It's not for our own ego. It's just it's a weird algorithm iTunes has. We're trying to build us up, just to build us up, just to get more listeners out there to try to build this community. We need 5-star ratings. They'll push us up. They'll bump us up. They'll do advertising for free, so we don't have to do it ourselves because we're not rich.
Not rich.
Not rich. Can't afford for all this shit. Anyways, those are all the ways you can fucking hit us up, be a part of this community. Hope you like this episode, and we're fucking super stoked. I feel like this is a good one, Joe.
Oh, for sure. But 5 is my lucky number, so next episode is...
So we're going to kill it on the Oscars.
Awesome.
All right. Well, until
Oscars.
the Oscars discussion, we'll look forward to hearing from you on social media, Twitter, Facebook, WordPress, YouTube, whatever. We look forward to hear from you. And if not, we'll see you soon for the Oscars episode.
Yeah.
And with that, I guess we're out. We're done.
All right. Good night.
Later.